San Diego's mayor just said we're finally fixing the housing shortage. Thousands of homes approved, rents supposedly coming down, and more housing types on the way. But here's the real question. Does any of this actually change what it feels like right now to buy or rent a home here in San Diego? Before we go any further, let me set the frame for this conversation. This isn't about politics. This isn't about whether you like the mayor or don't like the mayor. This is about housing supply affordability and how decisions made at the city hall actually show up in the real world here in San Diego. In prices, in rents, in inventory, and who can actually buy a home here in San Diego. Mayor Todd Gloria's State of the City address included a lot of big housing claims, big numbers, and big promises. Some of them are already in motion, some of them are long-term, and some of them sound impactful, but don't actually move the needle the way people think.
Why am I not surprised?
So in this video, I'm not here to sell you on the speech. I'm here to break it down. What's real, what's measurable, what affects the market now, and what might actually affect it in years from now. Because if you're buying, selling, renting, or just trying to understand where the San Diego housing market is heading, this gives us some real insight. All this covered here in this week's San Diego Market Matters, and I'm Karl, your San Diego realtor. Now, real quick, if you want to support the channel, I'd love a like and a subscribe, but if not, that's okay. Being here and getting educated is what really matters. Now, let's start with what the mayor actually said about housing and what those numbers really mean. Starting with the headline number the mayor leaned on the most, permits. According to the city, San Diego permitted roughly 7,500 homes in 2025, which is a really big jump compared to the 4,300 per year average we saw over the prior 2 decades, so almost twice as much. On paper, that sounds like real progress, and to be fair, it really is. But here's where we need to slow it down and separate permits from actual housing supply. A permit is permission to build. It's not a guarantee that a home gets built, finished, or delivered to the market anytime soon, if ever in some cases. Between financing, construction costs, labor shortages, lawsuits, and market shifts, a meaningful percentage of permitted projects never actually materialize. So when you hear 7,500 homes, what that really means is 7,500 potential homes, not 7,500 keys hitting the market. The mayor also highlighted that recent community plan updates added capacity for roughly 105,000 homes across areas like Mira Mesa, Claremont, Hillcrest, Barrio Logan, and the College area. Again, important, but this is a zoning capacity, not actual production. Capacity means that the city is allowing more housing to grow or be built there. It doesn't mean that developers are rushing in tomorrow or that prices suddenly are going to come down next year. In real world terms, this helps the market long term, but not short term. And this distinction matters, especially if you're a buyer hoping supply is about to flood the market or a homeowner worried that prices are about to fall off a cliff. So yes, permitting is up and zoning is expanding. That's directionally positive. But the reality on the ground, we have limited inventory, tight construction timelines, and high costs. This means that supply is still constrained where it matters most. Homes people can actually afford right now. That's the gap between the headlines and reality. And it's the theme repeated throughout Mayor Todd Gloria's address. Now moving on to the hot topic of affordable housing, because this is where the numbers sound impressive, but the details matter even more. The mayor highlighted a few big wins here. Through the Bridge to Home program, the city has funded 2,676 affordable homes, with more funding planned for hundreds more. The Affordable Housing Permit Now program has greenlit 4,300 homes with another 2,000 in the pipeline. Again, directionally, this is positive. These programs absolutely make it easier and faster to approve affordable projects. That's real progress. But here's the part that often gets lost in the headlines. Affordable housing does not automatically mean affordable to the average San Diegan. Most of these units are income restricted, targeted to a very specific income band, and often take years to move from approval to completion. Many are tied to AMI, average median income levels, that feel out of reach for middle income renters and first-time buyers. So when we hear there's thousands of affordable units approved, what we're really talking about is long-term relief, for a very specific segment of the market, not an immediate pressure relief across the entire board. And that's important because San Diego's affordability problem isn't isolated to just one group. We have teachers, nurses, firefighters, young professionals, first-time buyers, all earning solid incomes, but they're still struggling. And these programs don't directly address that middle squeeze portion of the market. There's also timing. Many of these affordable projects won't deliver units for several years. And in the meantime, the broader market is still dealing with limited resale inventory, high construction costs, and mortgage rates that keep homeownership expensive. So here's the real takeaway. These programs do help and they do matter and they are necessary, but they're not a silver bullet and they won't suddenly make rent cheaper or homeownership easy in the near term. That's the key. We're on the right track, but this affordable housing policy is gonna take time to deliver on. The part that matters most if you actually live here in San Diego is what kind of housing is being added to the market. Large share of what the city is permitting and fast tracking is attached housing. So we have apartments, condos, townhomes, and income restricted units, not detached single family homes. Now that does help overall supply numbers. It also increases rental inventory and stabilizes rents at the margin, but it doesn't directly solve affordability for buyers trying to purchase a detached home here in San Diego. And any downstream effects of this take time to show up. Now let's talk about the project that has the potential to move the needle in a meaningful way, and that's the sports arena redevelopment in the Midway district, also known as Midway Rising. This isn't a small infill project or a zoning tweak. This is a 48 acre of public owned land being redeveloped into more than 4,200 homes, roughly 2,000 of those designated as affordable, along with parks, retail, and a new arena. In terms of scale, location, and long-term impact, this is one of the most consequential housing projects San Diego has attempted in decades, and it looks and sounds absolutely phenomenal. Now, the mayor made it very clear in the State of the City that despite ongoing legal challenges, the city intends to move forward with the project. Public hearings are expected, and the city council is set to vote, which tells us that this isn't just a vision slide in some random PowerPoint. With that said, this is a multi-year process. Even if everything goes right from here, construction, phase-in delivery will take time. None of this changes inventory conditions overnight. Now, what makes Midway different from many other housing announcements is concentration. Thousands of units in one area, near transit, employment centers, and the coast can actually influence local supply dynamics once they're delivered. That doesn't mean prices are suddenly going to drop across San Diego, but it does mean pressure can ease in the surrounding rental markets and resale segments over time. This is one of the few projects where the word impact is being overstated in the context of local. Now let's talk about another part of the mayor's housing strategy, which is converting existing city-owned properties into housing. These are sites like 101 Ash Street, the Central Library, the Civic Center, and potentially Golden Hall. And there's a common thread here that matters. All of these properties are downtown. And while adding houses anywhere helps address the overall shortage, location still matters when we're talking about the real world impact. Downtown living isn't for everyone. Parking is limited, many jobs are spread across the county rather than concentrated near downtown, and the homelessness is far more visible and concentrated there than in most other parts of San Diego. For some people, that's a trade-off they're willing to make. For a lot of families, long-term homeowners, and move-up buyers, it's just not really their fit. From a policy standpoint, converting these properties makes sense. The city already owns the land, infrastructure is in place, and it avoids competing with private buyers for other sites. But from a market perspective, this kind of housing mostly serves a very specific slice of demand. It helps certain renters, it adds units where density already exists, and it's directionally positive, but it doesn't meaningfully relieve pressure in suburban or family-oriented neighborhoods where demand is strongest. So when you hear about these downtown conversions, it's important to keep expectations realistic. They definitely are helpful projects, just not transformative ones. They add supply where the city has limited options, but they don't fundamentally change affordability for most buyers across San Diego. Like a lot of what we're talking about in this episode. They're part of the solution. They're just not the solution in and of themselves. Now let's talk about the rent claim that Mayor Todd Gloria made, because this is where context really matters. In the State of the City address, the mayor said that rents are declining year over year for the first time in 25 years. And that's a big statement. What's important is that while the progress report doesn't cite a specific data source for this claim, we are seeing supporting signals from independent sources like Zillow and Redfin showing rents flattening or dipping in certain segments. So this isn't coming out of thin air, but it's also not something we can declare as a trend yet. Now, I am seeing this play out directly with my own clients who own rental properties here in San Diego. A year or two ago, they'd list a rental and have multiple applications almost overnight. Now, those same properties are sitting on the market a little bit longer, and in many cases, my clients are having to reduce their asking rents before they get a meaningful interest from a tenant. That's a real shift in leverage, even if it's not evenly distributed across the entire city. The key is scale and perspective. Some rent softening doesn't mean San Diego suddenly became affordable, and it doesn't erase years of sharp rent increases. What it does suggest is that added supply, especially in the apartment market, is starting to have an effect at the margins. If this shows up consistently across multiple data sources and continues over time, then we can start talking about a meaningful change. For now, it's a signal worth watching, not a victory lap yet. So here's the perspective I want you to leave with. What the city is doing on housing is good, and it's clearly moving in the right direction. Permitting more homes, updating zoning, approving affordable housing projects, and pushing for large redevelopments are all necessary steps. But housing policy operates on a very long timeline, and markets don't stand still while those projects work their way through the system. By the time many of these homes are actually completed and delivered on, a lot of things could look pretty different here. Mortgage rates could be lower, the economy could slow down and then recover, or we could be coming out of the other side of the so-called soft landing that the Federal Reserve has been trying to engineer. Any one of those shifts can have as much, if not more, of an impact on affordability than a new housing development coming online in a given year. So bottom line is this: the strategy is directionally right and it deserves credit, but affordability is influenced by far more than housing policy alone. Rates, jobs, income growth, and broader economic cycles all matter, and they're constantly moving targets. For anyone watching this market, the smartest approach isn't waiting for one policy or one project to fix everything. It's understanding the timing, the trade-offs, and the reality that progress in San Diego real estate tends to show up very slowly and not all at once. And that's a wrap. Man, that was a lot to unravel there. I hope that this update was valuable. I will link the video of Mayor Todd Gloria's State of the City address in the description below if you want to watch it for yourself. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. As always, I'm Karl, your San Diego realtor. I'll see you in the next video.